It's that wonderful time of year again where we get together with as many of the people we love as we can. Friends, family, neighbors. We celebrate each other and dream of what is to come. For many of us, that includes growing our family. We imagine the day we get to announce to our loved ones that we are finally expecting. The reality is, for so many, it's just not that simple. In fact, infertility affects 10 to 15% of couples. The World Health Organization even suggests that between 48 million couples and 186 million individuals have infertility globally. Infertility is common, not fair, and heartbreaking. And over the holidays, it can be even more difficult to handle. In today's webinar, our guest will provide you with some great advice on how to survive the holidays if you're struggling with infertility, and even how you can support someone close to you struggling. Our guest today is Megan Cox. Megan is a licensed mental health counselor and a support and match manager with Family Source Consultants. She has a passion for family-centered and trauma-focused therapy. She graduated from the University of St. Francis with a Master of Science degree, where her training focused on experiential and trauma-focused therapies. Megan addresses each client with empathy and understanding as they push themselves towards their established goals. She has worked professionally in family preservation and foster care and has extensive experience in customer service and relations. She developed a passion for helping families grow during her work with foster care and adoptions. She's eager to continue assisting families in growing through third-party reproduction with Family Source Consultants.
Welcome, Megan.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I'm very glad you're happy to be here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Well, I am a licensed mental health counselor in the state of Indiana. I've been working in mental health for almost 10 years now in a lot of different capacities. I have struggled briefly with the infertility of my own. I'm very lucky that I'm now a mother of two wild, crazy boys that keep me on my toes. But I have watched several family and friends who have also struggled with infertility. And I'm just always in awe of their strength, the strength that they have, especially, during the holidays, because it can be so difficult.
Yeah, well, nice to meet you formally.
Yeah.
And 10 years, that's a long time. How long have you been in mental health in the fertility or surrogacy field?
Yeah, so I'm new to the surrogacy field, but like I said, struggled with some infertility of my own prior to coming to surrogacy, though I worked a lot in foster care and helping families grow through adoption as well. So had a little bit of experience in that realm as well. So that was great.
So that probably helps when it comes to family building now, because you have a different aspect of family building that not everybody considers. So very well-rounded. I love
Yeah.
it. Excellent. So infertility, unfortunately, is common. It's not fair, and it's very heartbreaking. During the holidays, it can be even more difficult to handle. Why, from your both personal and professional perspective, do you think that is?
Well, I think during the holidays, we really get to spend time with those that are closest to us. We interact and we socialize with friends who have children, our family members who have children. We see it all over social media, the 15 pregnancy announcements that happen with a Christmas tree. And then family photos, Christmas cards coming in the mail. It's just a lot to take in, and it's a little overstimulating. And I think while we struggle with our own infertility, it really makes us think about it constantly, and it just kind of feels like something we can't escape. So I think, to make things worse, then people at family gatherings tend to ask a lot of questions, and probably questions that they shouldn't, and it catches us off guard. And when we're already sensitive to the topic, it just really starts to build and gets more and more difficult. Some of the questions, I thought you'd already have kids, or I thought you would have kids before your brother, or when are you going to? And then they start asking questions about, have you tried this? Have you tried that? And all of a sudden, everybody's an expert and everybody's a doctor, and they're giving you unsolicited advice. We typically a lot of people probably face those questions in their daily life. But then when you're in all of these repeated holiday scenarios where you're with a large gathering, people ask and they don't know that somebody asked you that same question 2 minutes ago. And then your whole holiday is spent answering questions about things you're trying to, compartmentalize and avoid for the holidays. So I think that all just kind of increases our anxiety, increases our stress level. And then fertility, unfortunately, builds on that and becomes even more challenging.
I'm overwhelmed just listening to that, because I personally have struggled with infertility. And I think the thing that gets me are the family photos and the pajamas,
Yeah.
right? and they're always sending them out. I'm like, I want that. So I do it with my dogs to try to, but it's just not the same. So I can understand the overwhelming pressure you already feel, but then to have everyone questioning you. When you brought that up, I was like, oh, yep, that's probably something our viewers are going to relate to. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now we're faced with all of that. Now here it is, the holidays, and we're getting bombarded with questions and all of those photos and the bump reveals. Can you give us some tips and advice on how to navigate the already stressful season when facing infertility challenges?
Absolutely. I would, first start, take a break from social media. You don't need to see what Karen is having for dinner on Christmas Day, and you don't need to see those 35 pregnancy announcements. Are you happy for those people? Absolutely. Are they people that you probably are going to congratulate? 100%. But that doesn't mean that you're not allowed to put your feelings first, and just give yourself a break from that social media constant intake of things that are going to, tug at those feelings. Next, I would say make sure that you're confiding in your close friends and family. Before you go to Christmas this weekend with a large group, tell your sister or your mom or whoever you're closest with ahead of time, like, hey, this is something I'm really not comfortable discussing while we're, at family dinner. And I would rather not spend my whole holiday, answering questions. So would you mind giving everybody like a heads up? I don't want to talk about this next weekend. So that everybody's prepared for that. And it's not something that you feel like you have to address yourself. Next, I would just spend more time with those that are closest to you. Talk to the people that you lean on most for emotional support, and don't feel like you have to say yes to every holiday event. You could be invited to 17 different things, but you don't have to go to all of them. Give yourself some time to rest and recharge with those that are really filling up your cup. And then be okay with changing the subject. You're allowed to set boundaries. You're allowed to, say that this isn't something I want to discuss. Maybe you are comfortable sharing some minor details, but then redirect the conversation, whatever you're most comfortable with. Also, I would say there are infertility support groups. Resolve can help you find one that's near you. So reach out, find a support group near you. Maybe it's a virtual one. Maybe it's just a Facebook support group that you can lean on. I know I said avoid social media, but if you have a positive, group to lean on for support, that's great as well. And self-care is the biggest piece. Make sure you're taking care of you, whatever that looks like for you. So if that's going for a walk by yourself, if that's scheduling yourself a nice cushy massage somewhere, do what you need to do to make sure that you're taking care of you, especially during this most stressful time.
Those are all wonderful things, I think. And I think a lot of people forget you can set boundaries, and it's not a negative. And I would hope that the people in their lives understand and, can appreciate the situation that you're in. So I think hearing it from a mental health professional kind of validates that for some. We hear a lot of times, their family, you can't, but to hear that it's okay, I think is really something people need to hear. So
Absolutely.
that was amazing. Okay, so Megan, going back to all of the extra challenges someone could face during the holidays, maybe the bombarding of questions, the baby reveals, all of that type of stuff. What if the person struggling with infertility has tried all of the things you suggested earlier, and for some reason they're just not working, and in that moment they are completely overwhelmed, just at the point where they can't take it anymore? What would you recommend they do?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first part of that is certainly like if you're in the moment, somebody's asking you these questions and all of a sudden you're not coping, leave the environment, get yourself to what you would consider a safe space. Maybe that is the next room over. Maybe that is getting in your car and going home. Whatever that looks like for you, make sure that you are in a place that you feel safe and you can get yourself kind of reset and collect your thoughts. And once you're in that safe space, use your coping mechanisms that are tried and true for you. Maybe that's deep breathing. Maybe that's journaling. Maybe that's, going for a walk. Whatever usually helps calm you down, first go to those steps. If that's not working for you and you are established with a mental health counselor, a therapist that you're comfortable with, reach out to them. See if you can get on the schedule for sooner than your next normal appointment. Maybe you don't have a next appointment scheduled. See if you can get in. And if all of that fails and you really are on the brink, you're feeling like this is too much for me, I'm too overwhelmed, there are hotlines. 988, pardon me, is the mental health hotline. Call it. Or they have a website that has a live chat if you don't want to talk to somebody on the phone. 988lifeline.org will hook you up with that chat. They have a text number as well. If you text MHA to 741-741, that will put you directly in texting contact with a crisis counselor. So if you are to the point where nothing else is working for you and you feel like you need to take those measures, then absolutely utilize those resources.
Those are, to me, wonderful tips and advice, because the first thing we forget sometimes is what works for us naturally. What is the grounding stuff that we already go to? Try those. And in some cases, maybe it is just way too much. So to be able to provide those professional resources, and I think maybe there's a stigma on reaching out to 988 and those, because I'm not to the point of X or whatever,
Right.
but they're not there just for that. They're there to make sure in that moment, right, they can calm you down from the mental health headspace that you're in. Is that a correct answer?
Absolutely, 100%. You do not have to be, at the highest level of needing services. It simply can just be, I am way too overwhelmed and I need somebody that's going to answer me right now. And those crisis counselors will do that for you.
I love that. Now, let's say I'm not the person struggling with infertility, but I have my loved one or my best friend or my sister who really is, and I don't know how to help. What can I do, not just year round, but especially during the holidays, to kind of help alleviate some of that stress?
Absolutely. I think, first of all, don't be the person that's asking the inappropriate questions. That's the biggest one. Give them that space that they need, but also let them know that you're there for support. If it is somebody who you really are, you're their emotional support person, and you know that they would want to talk to you about these kinds of things, check in with them. Maybe it's just a text message. Let them know that you don't have to respond to me right now. Sometimes, when we're struggling with infertility or struggling with anything that's stressful in our life, it's too overwhelming to even think of a response to get to somebody. And then you feel even more guilt and stress over the fact that you're not responding to those that you love. So, let them know in your message, you don't have to text me back. I just want to let you know that I have space for you right now. I'm thinking about you. And if you need anything at all, please make sure that you reach out to me. And then when they do, if they do, answer them. Make sure that when you offer that you're going to follow through with what you said you would do. So answer them. If they just need you, maybe they need a meal next week, be willing to do the small things that are taking too much headspace for them to consider. And then ensure that if you are that super close emotional support for them, that you are letting others know. Maybe somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, I know so and so struggling with this, how are they doing? Let them know that this isn't something that they want to talk about during this point in time. And when they're ready to share information about their life, they'll do that on their own, and make sure that you are kind of filtering a little of that stress out for them.
I think that is one of the best pieces of advice I've had. I do have an infertility wingman, if you will, that when I go to events, they are letting people know
Yes.
that it's a sensitive topic. I'm not saying I'm not going to celebrate your lovely children, but there are certain things that are a little bit more sensitive. And so I like having the ability to have someone do that. So if you're in the space to be able to do that, it's an invaluable resource for the person struggling. And I'm guessing Megan is professional. You're agreeing with me. So that's great.
Absolutely.
So coming to a close here, is there anything else that you'd like to add at all that will help possibly the viewers struggling with infertility survive these holidays?
Yeah, I think really, rely on your support system, whether that is your significant other or your mom or your best friend. Tell them if you're struggling. Make sure that you voice your needs. I know that is hard. It's much harder said than done. So make sure that it is okay to ask for help. It's, infertility is difficult, and sometimes it's a super lengthy journey. And so make sure that you are taking care of you. That is, the number one priority.
That is, I think, the best way to close this out. Take care of you.
We hope Megan was able to give you some tips on how to navigate this holiday season while dealing with infertility, and for those of us with loved ones dealing with it, a way to help support them during this stressful holiday season as well. Remember, it's okay to say no, scale back, and set boundaries. Your loved ones will fully understand. However, if you're still struggling and need to find a support group near you, go to resolve.org under their Get Help and Find a Support Group section of their website. If you would like additional information on third-party reproduction to include getting in touch with some of the best fertility clinics in the country, contact us at FamilySourceConsultants.com, and we'll be back in touch with you very soon. We wish you the absolute best this holiday season and upcoming year. Thank you for watching.